Be me, Mildred, Human Resources Director. Now I have the authority to shift how things work around here. Too many meetings where the same voices drown out everyone else. It happens without anyone even noticing the pattern. Endless cutting people off mid-sentence, steamrolling discussions, hogging the floor. Classic behavior, textbook really. Been reading about conversational equity and gender dynamics in professional settings. The data is clear. Men speak 75% more in mixed gender meetings. This ends now. Draft up a new policy during the weekend. Feel that familiar surge of purpose as I type it out. Effective immediately, in all company meetings, women must be given the floor first. No male employee may speak until all female employees present have had the opportunity to contribute. It's perfect. It's fair. It's literally just balancing the scales. Monday morning, send it out company-wide. Subject line, new meeting protocol, mandatory compliance. CC the CEO, Adam, who's always been supportive of my initiatives. Well, supportive in that way where he nods and says, sounds good, because he doesn't want human resources problems. Within an hour, my inbox is flooded. Responses from male employees across every department, engineering, accounting, ET, maintenance, junior associates, all of them with concerns. Here we go. Open the first one from Derek in engineering. Mildred, I appreciate the intent here, but this seems like it might create some logistical issues. What if there's a time-sensitive technical matter that needs immediate input from someone who happens to be male? Can we discuss alternative approaches? Roll my eyes so hard I nearly see my brain. Type back. Derek, your resistance to this policy is exactly why it's necessary. Women have been waiting for centuries to speak. You can wait 5 minutes. Next email from Robert in accounting. This policy seems potentially discriminatory. Shouldn't we focus on encouraging participation from everyone rather than mandating speaking order based on gender? Discriminatory. He actually used that word, the audacity. Reply, Robert, speaking order based on merit and equity is not discrimination. What's discriminatory is the historical silencing of women's voices. Please reflect on why this makes you uncomfortable. More emails pour in, every single one of them dripping with that fake polite concern trolling. But what about efficiency? But what about urgent matters? But what about equal treatment? They just don't get it. They've never had to fight to be heard, so they can't understand what it means to guarantee that space. Spend the entire day responding to each one with increasingly less patience. Finally send out a mass email at 4 p.m. To all staff, the new meeting protocol is non-negotiable. Any employee who fails to comply will face disciplinary action. This is about creating an equitable workplace. Those who oppose it are, consciously or not, protecting patriarchal systems. I expected better from this organization. Feel pretty good about that one. Firm, but educational. Next morning, first big test. Weekly operations meeting. All departments. Usually it's about 15 people, maybe 5 women, including me. Walk in with my head high. Everyone's already seated. The energy is weird, quiet, whatever. They're probably just adjusting. Sit down at the head of the table. Good morning, everyone. As you know, we have a new protocol. I'll open the floor to our female colleagues first. Jennifer, would you like to begin with the IT update? Jennifer from IT looks uncomfortable. Sure. So, we had a server issue last Thursday that was resolved. Uptime is back to normal. That's all I have. Look around the table. Stephanie, how about the client acquisition numbers? Stephanie from sales shifts in her seat. We closed 2 deals last week. Projected revenue is on track. I think that's it from my end. Okay, a little sparse, but it's only week 1. Rachel from accounting? Rachel shakes her head. Nothing to report from me today. The silence stretches out. All the women have spoken. Now it's the men's turn. Look at Derek. Derek, let's hear about the Anderson project timeline. Derek just looks at me. Doesn't say anything. Just looks. Derek? The Anderson Project? Nothing. He's just sitting there. Look at Robert. Robert, can you cover the budget allocation updates? Robert meets my eyes, says nothing. His mouth doesn't even open. What the fuck? Is someone going to explain what's happening here? Adam, the CEO, clears his throat. Mildred, I think the gentlemen are exercising their right to remain silent. Feel my face getting hot. This is a workplace, not a police interrogation. They have responsibilities. Derek, you are going to report on the Anderson Project. Derek pulls out his phone, types something, holds it up. The screen reads, I have nothing to say at this time. You fucking kidding me? This is insubordination. This is a direct violation of your job duties. Robert pulls out his phone, types, shows me. My job duties don't explicitly require verbal communication. I'm happy to submit written reports. The other men around the table are nodding. Some of them are typing on their phones too. This is coordinated. They planned this. You can't just refuse to speak. That's not how meetings work. That's not how any of this works. Jennifer speaks up quietly. Mildred, maybe we should reschedule. This doesn't seem productive. No. We're not rescheduling because some men want to throw a tantrum. This is exactly the kind of resistance I was talking about. Stand up. Start pacing. You all think this is clever? You think proving you can be petulant children helps your case? The men just sit there, silent, watching me. Storm out of the conference room. Go directly to Adam's office after the meeting ends. He's already there, looking tired. Mildred, we need to talk about this. Adam, they're staging some kind of protest. It's blatant insubordination. We need to take disciplinary action. Against half our workforce for not speaking, for refusing to do their jobs. Adam sighs, takes off his glasses. Mildred, I approved your policy because I thought it was about encouraging participation, creating space. I didn't think it would lead to this. It led to this because they're proving exactly why the policy is necessary. They can't handle not being centered for 5 minutes. They're not talking at all, Mildred. That's different from not being centered. Leave his office before I say something I'll regret. This is fine. They'll get tired of their little game. Next day, project status meeting with the engineering team. Critical meeting. The Jacobson contract is up for renewal and we need to present progress. 6 engineers, 2 of them women. Both women are junior, just hired in the last 6 months. Alicia and Kim, sit down, open my laptop. Ladies first, as per protocol. Alicia, can you walk us through the status of the Jacobson deliverables? Alicia looks panicked. I'm not the lead on Jacobson. That's Thomas and Greg. I've only been helping with documentation. But surely you can speak to the overall progress. I mean, we're progressing. I honestly don't know the technical details well enough to present to a client. Turn to Kim. Kim? I'm on the Riverside project, not Jacobson. I don't have anything to contribute here. Both women have spoken. Now it's the men's turn. Thomas and Greg, the actual project leads, sit there silently. They're the only ones who actually know the details. They're the only ones who can present to the client. Thomas, Greg, the client call is in 2 hours. You need to brief me. Thomas pulls out his phone, types. All project documentation is available in the shared drive. You have access. I don't have time to read through 50 pages of technical documentation. I need you to verbally brief me on the key points. Greg types, I'm exercising my right to not speak. The documents are comprehensive. Feel my hands shaking. This contract is worth $3 million. You're willing to jeopardize that for your little protest? They just stare at me. Calm, quiet, maddeningly silent. The client call is a disaster. Try to present based on skimming the documents. Use words like synergistic and optimized workflow and on-track deliverables. The client, Janet, asks specific technical questions. What's the status of the API integration? It's integrating well, very smoothly. Can you speak to the latency issues we discussed last month? The team has been addressing those. The documentation shows significant progress. Mildred, I'm going to be frank. I asked for the project leads to be on this call. Where are Thomas and Greg? They're unavailable today, but I assure you, this is the third largest contract we have with you. I need to speak to people who actually know what's happening. Let's reschedule when the actual engineers can attend. She hangs up. Sit there in the empty conference room. The engineering team was supposed to be on the call, too. They were all there, on mute, cameras off, watching me fail. Next week gets worse. The silent strike spreads. It's not just meetings anymore. The IT guys stop responding verbally to help requests. They'll fix things, but only if you submit a written ticket. No more quick, hey, can you help me with this conversations. The maintenance staff stops confirming work orders verbally. You have to email them and wait for a typed response. The accountants stop giving verbal budget updates. Everything has to be requested in writing, processed, returned in writing. Everything slows to a crawl. Client complaints start rolling in. Projects are missing deadlines because communication takes 3 times as long. The sales team can't pitch properly because the technical experts won't speak on calls. More contracts get delayed. Go to Adam again. You need to do something. This is affecting revenue now. What do you want me to do, Mildred? Fire all the men? Force them to speak? Yes, this is insubordination. They're doing their jobs. They're just doing them silently. Human Resources wrote the employee handbook. Show me where it says verbal communication is mandatory. Feel like I'm losing my mind. This is absurd. This is a workplace. Communication is implied. So is treating employees fairly, but your policy explicitly creates different rules for different people based on gender. Based on equity, Adam, there's a difference. The board doesn't see a difference. They see falling revenue and client dissatisfaction. That stops me cold. The board knows? The board knows everything, Mildred. They're calling an emergency meeting next week. Spend the weekend preparing. Pull together data on gender equity in workplace communication. Find studies, statistics, expert opinions. Prepare a presentation on why this temporary disruption is worth it for long-term cultural change. Practice in front of my mirror. I'm right. I know I'm right. This is just growing pains. Monday morning, get called into the board meeting. It's in the big conference room. All 5 board members are there. Adam is there. So are representatives from every department, including the silent strikers, Derek, Robert, Thomas, Greg, and about 10 others. My stomach drops. Mildred, thank you for joining us, says Patricia, the board chair. We've been reviewing the situation regarding your new meeting protocol. Stand up straight. I'm glad we're discussing this. I've prepared materials that demonstrate why. We've also been reviewing the company's performance metrics since the policy implementation. She slides a packet across the table. Client retention down 15%. Project completion rates down 28%. Internal efficiency metrics down 35%. Employee satisfaction scores down 42%. These numbers are temporary, I say quickly. They represent resistance to change, not the policy itself. Once the adjustment period, Mildred, Patricia interrupts, we've also received a formal complaint from the male employees. Derek, would you like to present? Derek stands up. Oh, now he wants to talk. Thank you, Patricia. 3 weeks ago, Mildred implemented a policy that explicitly treats employees differently based on gender. While I understand the intent was to promote equity, the execution has created a hostile work environment and operational chaos. His voice is calm, measured. We didn't organize this protest because we oppose women speaking. We organized it to demonstrate that forcing arbitrary speaking orders based on gender doesn't promote communication. It destroys it. Effective meetings require organic discussion, where the people with relevant information contribute when that information is needed, regardless of their gender. This is exactly the kind of mansplaining I start. Mildred, please don't interrupt, Patricia says sharply. The irony isn't lost on me. Derek continues. We compiled data from the past 3 weeks. In meetings where women were forced to speak first on topics they weren't leading or familiar with, satisfaction scores from those women dropped by 38%. Many reported feeling put on the spot and uncomfortable. Alicia stands up. He's right. I hated being forced to speak about projects I wasn't involved in. It made me look incompetent in front of clients and colleagues. The policy didn't empower me. It set me up to fail. No. You're just experiencing internalized... Mildred, Adam says quietly. Let them finish. Robert stands next. We also documented the communication breakdown. Average project timeline increased by 12 days due to the requirement for written-only communication during our protest. But even before our protest, the forced speaking order added an average of 22 minutes to every meeting and decreased information quality by requiring people to speak before they had context from others. Kim from engineering raises her hand. I just want to say that I never felt silenced before this policy. When I have something to contribute, I speak. Thomas and Greg have always been respectful. This policy solved a problem that didn't exist in our department and created problems that did. Feel my face burning. Not everyone has your confidence, Kim. Some women need the structure to feel safe. Did you ask them? Jennifer from it interrupts. Did you ask any of us if we felt we needed this, or did you just assume? The room is silent, everyone looking at me. The data on gender communication disparities is clear. Data on aggregate trends, Derek says, applied as a blanket policy without assessing actual need or impact in this specific workplace. That's not equity. That's ideology overriding reality. Patricia clears her throat. Mildred, the board has made a decision. The meeting protocol policy is rescinded effective immediately. Furthermore, we're implementing a mandatory review process for all human resources policies going forward. No major policy changes can be implemented without board approval and impact assessment. Feel the ground dropping out from under me. You're undermining human resources authority to... We're providing oversight, Patricia says firmly. Additionally, we're requiring you to attend mediation sessions with the departments affected by this policy. You need to rebuild trust and working relationships. Mediation, I'm not the one who staged a workplace protest. They staged a legal, non-violent protest that successfully demonstrated a policy flaw, Adam says. You implemented a discriminatory policy without adequate review or consideration of consequences. It's not discriminatory to give women space to... Mildred, Patricia's voice is ice. You created a policy that explicitly treated employees differently based on protected characteristics. That's the textbook definition of discrimination. The fact that your intent was positive doesn't change the impact. Look around the room. Every face looking back at me with some mixture of pity, frustration, or satisfaction. The men aren't even gloating. They just look tired. If there's nothing else, Patricia says, this meeting is adjourned. Mildred, you'll receive a formal letter outlining the board's decisions and requirements. I suggest you take some time to reflect. Everyone files out. Sit there alone in the big conference room. My carefully prepared presentation still on my laptop. Unused, unneeded. Walk back to my office in a daze. My inbox is full. Emails from department heads requesting meetings to discuss communication going forward. Emails from female employees expressing relief that the policy is gone. One from Stephanie in sales. Thank you for trying, but honestly, this made my job harder. When I have something to say, I just say it. Forcing it felt patronizing. Even the women didn't want this. Even the people I was trying to help. spend the rest of the week in those mediation sessions, sitting across from Derek, Robert, Thomas, Greg, and others, listening to them explain calmly and rationally why the policy hurt everyone. We're not against women speaking, Derek says in one session. We're against forcing communication patterns that don't match actual workflow needs. Good ideas should be heard when they're relevant, not based on a gender-based cue. But men do dominate conversations, I say, hearing how weak my voice sounds. Some men do, Robert acknowledges. So do some women. The solution is building a culture where everyone feels comfortable contributing and where meeting facilitators actively encourage participation from quieter team members, regardless of gender. That's actual equity. Want to argue but can't find the words. Everything they're saying makes logical sense, but it feels like betrayal, like giving up ground that was fought for. You don't understand what it's like, I finally say, to be constantly talked over, dismissed, interrupted, to have your ideas ignored until a man says the exact same thing and gets credit. You're right, Thomas says quietly. I don't know what that's like, but making me sit in silence while junior employees struggle to present my projects doesn't teach me that lesson. It just creates resentment and chaos. So what's the solution? I ask, genuinely lost. The solution is what we've been doing, Greg says. When someone interrupts, we call it out, regardless of gender. When someone has expertise, we defer to them. When someone is being talked over, we make space. But we do it based on behavior and context, not based on gender quotas. The mediation sessions end with action items. I have to send a company-wide email acknowledging the policy's failure, have to work with department heads on communication guidelines that are actually practical, have to attend training on impact versus intent. The irony of human resources having to attend training isn't lost on anyone. Drafting that company-wide email takes hours. Keep starting and deleting. Finally, just write it straight. To all staff, the meeting protocol policy implemented 3 weeks ago has been rescinded. After review and feedback, it's clear that the policy, while well-intentioned, created more problems than it solved. Going forward, all major policy changes will undergo thorough review and impact assessment. I apologize for the disruption and am committed to working with all departments to improve communication and collaboration. Mildred. Hit send before I can overthink it. Responses trickle in. Most are diplomatic. Some are supportive in that pitying way. A few are clearly satisfied that I was put in my place. Those ones sting the most. Month later, things are mostly back to normal. Meetings run organically, people speak when they have something to say, and honestly, watching it now with clearer eyes, the women do speak. Jennifer commands the room when discussing infrastructure. Stephanie dominates sales meetings with her pitch strategies. Kim presents her engineering work with confidence. They didn't need my policy. They were already doing fine. The problems I thought I saw were in my head, or at least not in this office. Still have my job, somehow. But everyone knows the female employees are cordial but distant. The male employees are professional but careful. Every interaction feels like walking on glass. No one trusts my judgment anymore. Adam stops by my office one afternoon. "How are you holding up?" Shrug. "I'm here. I'm functional. For what it's worth, I know you were trying to do something good. Trying doesn't count for much when you fail this spectacularly." He doesn't argue with that. "Use it," he says finally. "Use this. Learn from it. The best human resources directors I've known are the ones who've made mistakes and genuinely learned." After he leaves, sit at my desk, looking at all my books on workplace equity and gender dynamics. They're not wrong, the theories and data, but applying them without nuance, without context, without actually listening to the people involved. That was wrong. That was all me. Think about Derek and the others. Their silent strike was brilliant, really. Perfectly legal, impossible to punish, and absolutely devastating. They didn't yell or argue or fight. They just showed me exactly what my logic looked like when taken to its conclusion. If women must speak first, and men speaking is the problem, then men not speaking at all should be the solution, right? Except it wasn't. Because the problem was never men speaking. It was about respectful communication, equal opportunity to contribute, and valuing expertise, all things that can't be mandated by a speaking order. My phone buzzes. Email from Patricia. Mildred, board meeting next month will include review of human resources performance and department effectiveness. Please prepare accordingly. That's corporate speak for, we're evaluating whether to keep you. Probably deserve it. Brought the company to its knees over a policy none of them wanted. Alienated the very people I thought I was helping. Became the kind of person who cares more about being right than being effective. Look at my reflection in my dark computer screen. When did I become this? When did fighting for equity turn into fighting against everyone? Don't have good answers. Just sit there in my office as the sun sets, listening to the sounds of everyone else leaving for the day. Normal conversations, mixed voices, organic communication. The sound of a workplace that runs just fine without my interventions. Maybe that's the lesson. Maybe that's what I was supposed to learn. That sometimes the best way to help is to get out of the way. That forcing change doesn't create lasting transformation. That intent without impact is just noise. Pack up my things. Tomorrow I'll start preparing for that board review. Update my resume, probably. But tonight, I just sit with the weight of knowing that I became the thing I thought I was fighting. Insufferable, righteous, and ultimately ineffective. The men didn't beat me with aggression or power. They beat me with patience and clarity. They showed everyone exactly what my policy was and let it collapse under its own absurdity. That's the worst part. They didn't even have to try that hard. Just had to stop talking and let me destroy myself. Walk out to my car in the empty parking lot. See Derek's car still there, light on in the engineering wing. Probably working late on the Jacobson contract. The one I almost destroyed. Drive home in silence. Kind of ironic. Silence was their weapon. And now, it's all I have left too. Defeated by the very people I dismissed. Outsmarted by the men I underestimated. Destroyed by my own policy's logical conclusion. Lie in bed that night staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every decision that led here, every warning sign I ignored, every concern I dismissed as resistance. They tried to tell me. They tried to explain. I just didn't want to listen. Thought listening was the same as giving in. Thought compromise was the same as surrender. Thought being right mattered more than being heard. Finally, fall asleep around 3 a.m. Dream about conference rooms and silence. Wake up to my alarm. Another day at the office where everyone knows, everyone remembers, everyone learned. Just not the lesson I intended to teach. The men taught that one, and they taught it perfectly.